Hey, what's up, guys? Professor Jay here. Today, we are going to be going over the 11 different human body systems. This is going to be a very brief overview because if I were to talk about each individual one and all of the components and how it works, this lecture might be about 10 hours long or more. So, we're just going to go through the overview. We are going to first off name and briefly describe all 11 systems. And after that, we're going to explain one example of how these systems can work together in concert to maintain homeostasis when there's some sort of stimulus that is challenging the homeostasis or the stable set of internal conditions in our bodies. So, once again, we're just going to go through all 11 and then we're going to briefly describe and talk about their integration. So, let's get started. To begin, I want to remind you that I had a very cruel anatomy and physiology professor. Her name was Cruel Dr. Mins. Indeed, she was named Cruel Dr. Mins because every day she would force us to remember all 11 body systems, which was nice because all of these letters are designated by a specific organ system. So if you can remember Cruel Dr. Mins, you will remember the 11 different systems of the body like the back of your hand. So we're going to get started in that order. It's not organized in a certain way. This is just to help you remember the 11 easily. They are by no means like, oh, this is one section of the body or this is another section of the body. This is just to help you memorize. So let's get started. C. C we're going to designate as the cardio, underline cardiovascular system. Now, the cardiovascular system, there's two parts to this. There's cardio, which stands for the heart, the muscles of the heart, and then vascular, meaning vessels. So we're talking the blood vessels, like your arteries and your veins. So these two things are within the cardiovascular system, and the goal is for the heart to pump blood, which is also part of the system, throughout the body via vessels. So that's the cardiovascular system. The second one is the respiratory system. And to respire means to breathe. And so this is when we are breathing through our mouth, through the windpipe, the trachea, into the bronchioles of the lungs. And then there's going to be some gas exchange in between the alveoli and the blood vessels, the capillaries that are surrounding them. So actually, these two work together pretty well because the cardiovascular system is going to pump blood, which gives nutrients throughout the body, and the respiratory system exchanges gases from the atmosphere into our bodies, bringing in oxygen, expelling CO2, and maintaining that blood pH level in a proper, I guess, category. So the blood pH is approximately, I think, 7.4. So we need to keep that around the same level. So it's going to exchange those gases. The next one is the urinary system. And as you can hear in the name, urinary refers to urine, so peeing out. So this is like the filtration system through your kidneys, bringing out the wastes that are in your blood that you don't need anymore, funneling them through the ureters into the urinary bladder and then out of the body. So you're expelling these wastes. And you're also reabsorbing things. That's something people don't think about. Your kidney's goal is to reabsorb as much as possible and expel as little as possible so that you don't have to continuously replenish yourself with food and water and etc. So it's trying to hold on to the good things and get rid of the bad and the excess. The next one I put in blue, and the reason I put it in blue is because this is the endocrine system, which is a master regulator system along with the nervous system. So I'm just going to combine those right now because these are going to be your overarching, think of these as kind of like the master regulators, like the king of your body. They're really seeing what's happening inside your body and they're manipulating a lot of different systems so that you can maintain homeostasis. So endocrine has two different parts as well. Endo meaning in or within, and crine or crine, you could say endocrine system, endocrine system. Crine means to secrete. Okay, and secretion means that we're releasing some sort of fluid, specifically like a serous fluid or maybe different types of hormones or different types of chemicals. And this means that we are secreting chemicals within our body. So these are things like hormones, peptide hormones, that will signal the body to do different things. So the endocrine system, the master regulator, is your pituitary. It lies just below your hypothalamus in your brain. And then we're going to also talk about the nervous system. So nervous, meaning nerves. So you've got all these nerves connecting in your brain to your muscles, to your organs, and it's basically going to monitor what's happening in them through your peripheral nervous system. So it's going to sense what's going on, and then it's going to respond to them. Sometimes it responds by stimulating the endocrine system to release a hormone to tell your body to do something, and sometimes it's very quick. Right now, my nervous system is sending through my brain, through my spinal cord, going to my mouth and telling it to move. These are very specific signals being sent by the nervous system to affect the muscles in my mouth. We'll get to that here in a second. Let's move on with the lymphatic system. Lymph, you may have heard of before. So, lymph is the fluid that leaks out of your blood vessels, but that's only one part of the lymphatic system. The main goal of the lymphatic system is to basically monitor what's going on in the blood. Maybe there's some viruses or bacteria that have seeped in there, and it needs to clear those out. So, what it will do is bring the lymph to these lymph nodes where there's a lot of lymphocytes or white blood cells that will help your body fight off the infection. So this is a part of your immune system. We don't really categorize immune system in here. The I doesn't stand for that. But the lymphatic system is incredibly important when it's talking about monitoring viruses, infections, different things going on. So a lot of the times when you go to the doctor, if you're feeling sick, they'll feel your lymph nodes around your neck, and if they're swollen, that means that your lymph nodes are constantly fighting while your cells are fighting off infection, so they get kind of inflamed and swollen. So that's one main goal of your lymphatic system, is to kind of check for your blood and if there's other foreign substances in there. There's also lymph vessels that carry the lymph through, and some other organs we won't talk about right now, but that is the lymphatic system. Let's go down here to D. D stands for digestive. And you can probably guess that means that you are digesting food. So it's going to be your mouth through your esophagus, which is posterior to your trachea, go into your stomach. And then your stomach is going to start mechanically digesting, maybe absorbing some things, send it onto the small intestine, large intestine for further absorption of food and fluids. Next one is your reproductive system. Now, obviously, with the reproductive system, depending on if you are male or female, you're going to have different organs that are associated with the reproductive system. So if you're a male, we're talking testes, penis, seminal vesicles, those types of things. And for the women, it's going to be more ovaries, uterus, fallopian tubes. And the main goal of reproduction, you can guess, is to produce another life, right? So when you have male, female, sperm, and egg, you can create a zygote, which will be essentially a newborn life if it goes fully to term. So that's the reproductive system. You are procreating, you're creating more life. Obviously, as humans, we're mammals, so a lot of the times mammals will have only like one or very few numbers of kids, but have a lot of investment in them. Whereas if you're a fish, reproductive cycle is going to be a lot different. They're going to have a ton of eggs, a ton of fertilization, but only a small number usually survives and continues on. That's besides the point. Let's move on to the muscular system. Sometimes they combine this with the musculoskeletal system. So your muscular, obviously you're talking about your muscles, your tendons that attach your bones to muscles. And then for skeletal system, you're going to be looking at specifically your bones. There's different functions of these than you'd think. First off, you know that skeletal system is your bone, so it's the structure. Muscular allows you to move freely, so you can move all your bones around based off your muscles. But there's a couple other things that we don't think about when we're talking about these systems. First off, one of the biggest producers of heat for your body is your muscular system, because you're making a lot of ATP and you're using a lot of it, and that releases a lot of heat. So that's another reason why when you start exercising and moving your muscles, it produces a ton of heat and you start sweating because your muscles are a main, I guess, creator of heat. And then the skeletal system, although it is for structure and support, your bones and your bone marrow specifically is a huge producer of blood. So your blood is generated in your skeletal system as well. Finally, let's get to your integumentary system. If you hear the word integument or integumentary, it means covering. I'm not sure if it's in Greek or Latin. Somebody comment and tell me which one it is. But integument means basically covering. So now we're talking about your skin. And your skin is obviously for covering your body. And the main goal of your skin actually is to protect yourself from the outer environment. Because if you think about it, it regulates your body temperature. You're at like 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas your internal environment is usually around like 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it wants to insulate you from the external environment, keeping your body at a stable set of internal temperature. Secondly, say somebody sneezes at me, right? There's a lot of infections that could happen from that sneeze. There's a lot of viruses and bacteria in there. And the skin, it'll land on the skin and basically protect yourself from getting infected because it's very thick. There's a lot of proteins in there that doesn't allow things to get inside. Now, the issue becomes when you accidentally cut yourself. Well, now it has access to your blood, goes through your cardiovascular system, and it can get throughout your whole body. So that's another reason when we get a cut, we like to put antibiotic in it, like a neosporin, so it prevents those bacteria from invading and getting into your system. Okay? So, that's a very brief overview. Hopefully that was helpful. But before we go, I want to talk about one example of how these different systems are correlated. So, let's say you want to go out for a run. Okay? You have decided that primarily in your prefrontal cortex, hey, this is going to be good for me. So your nervous system is initially stimulated and you're like, hey, I'm going to go for a run. So what you do is this nervous system is going to send signals to your muscle tissue to contract. So now you are running. Well, as you're running, you're now using more oxygen. You're burning more glucose to make ATP, the energy that's literally propelling you forward in those muscle contractions. So your body will notice, hey, you're you're using glucose at a super high rate. We better put some glucose into your blood so that your tissues can have more access to it. That signal is sent by the endocrine system once the nervous system tells it, hey, you got to release some blood glucose into the body. Okay, so then the endocrine system tells different parts of your body to release glucose into your blood vessels so that your tissues can get more oxygen, get more glucose, and therefore have more energy to produce to run. However, at the same time, you are using so much energy to run. So you need those nutrients to cycle through your body faster and faster and faster and faster. And what cycles the blood through the body? Your cardiovascular system. So your heart starts pumping faster and harder. So it's going to be stimulated. Furthermore, you also will need more oxygen. Just like your body released glucose into your bloodstream, you also need oxygen to combine it for cell respiration to make the energy. So guess what you start doing? You start breathing harder, which was usually a signal sent by either nervous system or endocrine system to stimulate the respiratory system to go up. That's why it's so gosh darn hard to hold your breath while you're running for a long time, because your body will override it and say, you need oxygen, you need to breathe, so it forces you to breathe. It's another reason it's hard to hold your breath underwater, because your nervous system is freaking out and forcing you to breathe, but obviously you want to come up for air first. So once again, that was just a few different things, and obviously you're also going to get warm. So now your skin gets a signal that, hey, you need to start sweating so that you can cool yourself off. So once again, your nervous system, endocrine system is going to tell integumentary system, hey, start sweating. Your body's getting too hot. So that's just a few different things, or a few different systems that are integrated just by running. And there's other things. So your digestive system will slow down because you're shunting blood to your muscles so that they can exercise a little better. Your urinary system sometimes also gets shut down. It relaxes, so sometimes you feel like you have to pee whenever you're like starting a race or something like that because those muscles are relaxing. So there's a bunch of different things that happen just from running to maintain what? Homeostasis. The whole goal is to continue to keep your body at a stable set of internal conditions. And eventually, you're going to have to stop running because your body can't just continue on forever and ever because it'll get pushed too far out of homeostasis and your body will literally shut down and say, no, you're done because we're getting too far out of whack. So hopefully this was a helpful overview. Hopefully you got kind of a picture of how things can combine as one, because the whole goal of these systems, guys, is to maintain homeostasis to keep you alive. Hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you soon.